My HOA president towed my brand new truck at 3 a.m. He didn't know my cameras were recording. The empty slab of concrete where my $60,000 truck used to be was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. It was 7:30 a.m. on a Monday morning. The sun was just starting to burn off the fog, casting long, mocking shadows across the driveway. I stood on my front porch, blinking, wondering if I was still asleep. Maybe I parked it in the garage. No. It didn't fit in the garage. Maybe I left it at work. No. I drove it home yesterday. I walked down the steps, my slippers crunching on the gravel. I touched the oil stain on the driveway where the rear differential usually sat. It was real. The truck was gone. Panic, cold and sharp, started to claw at my throat. It wasn't just a vehicle, it was a brand new, Velocity blue Ford F-250 Platinum. I had bought it 3 days ago. It had less than 200 miles on the odometer. Stolen, I whispered. Someone stole my truck. Then, I remembered the letter. Yesterday evening, I had found a certified letter taped to my front door. It was from the Homeowners Association. Specifically, it was from Jake, the HOA president. Violation notice, unauthorized commercial vehicle/eyesore. Description, blue pickup truck. Remedy, remove vehicle from driveway immediately or park inside garage. Failure to comply within 24 hours will result in towing at owner's expense. I had laughed at it. I crumpled it up and threw it on the counter. My truck wasn't a commercial vehicle. It didn't have logos. It was a personal vehicle. And the bylaws clearly stated that personal vehicles could be parked in driveways as long as they weren't in a state of disrepair. My truck was pristine. It still had the new car smell. But Jake didn't care about bylaws. He cared about power. Jake was a man who patrolled the neighborhood with a clipboard and a scowl, measuring grass height with a ruler and fining people for leaving their holiday lights up until January 4th. He hated trucks. He called them low class. I looked across the street. Jake's house was dark. His perfectly manicured lawn looked smug in the morning light. I ran back inside. I grabbed my phone. I opened the Ring app. I scrolled back. Midnight. Nothing. 1 a.m. Nothing. 2 a.m. Nothing. 3:02 a.m. Motion detected at driveway. I tapped the video. The footage was grainy at first, illuminated only by the streetlights. A massive, dark shape backed into my driveway. A tow truck. Not a reputable one with logos and lights. A beat-up, unmarked wrecker that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard. And there, standing at the end of my driveway, directing the driver with hand signals, was a figure in a bathrobe and slippers. It was Jake. I zoomed in. I could see his face clearly in the glow of the tow truck's reverse lights. He was smiling. He was pointing at my truck. The driver hopped out. He was a big guy, wearing a hoodie. He looked nervous. He walked up to Jake. The camera's microphone picked up their voices clearly in the silent night. "You sure this is legal, man?" the driver asked, looking at my house. "That's private property. He's got cameras." "I'm the president," Jake scoffed, waving a hand dismissively. "I run this neighborhood. It's a violation. Just hook it and book it. I'll handle the paperwork." "All right," the driver shrugged. "But if the cops come, this is on you." "The cops work for me," Jake lied. "Just get that monstrosity out of here." I watched, horrified, as the driver hooked chains to the rear axle of my truck. He didn't use dollies. He didn't put it on a flatbed. He just hooked it and dragged it. My truck is all-wheel drive. You cannot tow an AWD vehicle with 2 wheels on the ground. It destroys the transmission. It shreds the transfer case. I heard the sickening screch of tires dragging across asphalt as they pulled it out of the driveway. My truck bounced violently over the curb. Jake watched it go. He looked satisfied. He looked like a king surveying his kingdom. Then, he did something else. He walked up the driveway. He walked right up to where the driver's door had been. He bent down. He picked something up off the ground. It was my gate remote. I kept it clipped to the visor, but sometimes it fell. It must have fallen out when they jerked the truck. Jake looked at it. He looked around. Then, he slipped it into his bathrobe pocket. He stole my remote. He entered my property, facilitated the theft of my vehicle, and then stole a device that gave him access to my backyard. I felt the heat rising in my neck, a prickly, radioactive sensation that started at my collarbone and crawled up behind my ears. My vision went a little blurry at the edges. This wasn't a tow. This wasn't an HOA enforcement. This was a felony. I didn't call the HOA. I didn't call a lawyer. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? I'd like to report a grand theft auto in progress, I said. My voice was steady, deadly calm. My vehicle was stolen from my driveway at 3 a.m. I have video footage of the perpetrators. Do you know who took it? The dispatcher asked. Yes, I said. His name is Jake, last name. He lives across the street. And he had an accomplice in a tow truck. Officers are on the way. I hung up. I stood by the window, watching Jake's house. I saw a light flicker on in his kitchen. He was awake. He was probably making coffee, feeling proud of himself. He had no idea that he had just committed a crime that carried a prison sentence. I waited. The police arrived in 10 minutes. 2 cruisers. They pulled up silently, no sirens, just the flashing blue and red lights painting the morning fog with a surreal disco effect. I walked out to meet them. I was holding my iPad with the video queued up. Sir, you reported a stolen vehicle? Officer Miller asked. He was a young guy, looked sharp. His partner, Officer Davis, was older, grizzled. Yes, I said. It was taken at 3:02 a.m. Here is the footage. I played the clip. Miller watched. Davis leaned in. They saw the tow truck. They saw Jake. They heard the audio. You sure this is legal? I'm the president. I'll handle it. Davis whistled low. That's bold. He admitted he knew it might not be legal. And look at this, I said, swiping to the next clip, the neighbor's camera footage that I had texted my neighbor, Mike, for 5 minutes ago. Mike hates Jake too. He sent it instantly. The angle showed Jake picking up the remote and pocketing it. He took my gate opener, I said. That's burglary of a vehicle, isn't it? Or at least theft. It's theft, Miller nodded. And the truck, dragging it like that? That's criminal mischief. Property damage. It's an AWD, I added. The transmission is probably toast. Davis looked at Jake's house. That the guy? That's him. 404, Oak Lane. Let's go have a chat, Davis said, adjusting his belt. We walked across the street. The officers went to the door. I stood at the end of the driveway. I wanted to see this. Bang. 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 Davis pounded on the door. Police. Open up. It took a minute. The door opened. Jake stood there. He was still in his bathrobe. He was holding a mug of coffee. He looked annoyed, then confused, then, for a split second, terrified. Officers? Jake asked, trying to summon his authoritative voice. Is there a problem? I assume you're here about the truck across the street. I authorized that removal. It was a violation of community standards. "Sir, step out onto the porch," Davis said. "I don't have to step anywhere," Jake sneered. "I am the HOA president. I have the authority to enforce covenants." That vehicle was an eyesore. "Sir," Miller said, stepping closer. "Did you have a court order to seize that vehicle?" "I don't need a court order." Jake shouted. "I have the bylaws." "Bylaws are civil contracts, sir," Davis said, his voice dropping an octave. "They do not grant you the power to seize private property from a private driveway without the owner's consent or a writ of execution. Taking a vehicle without legal authority is auto theft." "Theft?" Jake laughed. It was a high, nervous sound. "I didn't steal it. I had it towed. It's at the impound lot. He can get it back if he pays the fine." "You exercised control over property that wasn't yours," Miller corrected him. "You deprived the owner of its use. That fits the statute for theft. And since you directed the tow truck driver to take it, that makes you a principal in the act." "This is ridiculous." Jake sputtered. "I'm calling the board lawyer." "You can call him from the station," Davis said. "Turn around." "What?" "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Jake froze. "You're arresting me?" "Grand theft auto," Davis listed. "Conspiracy to commit theft. And..." He reached into Jake's bathrobe pocket. He pulled out a small, black plastic rectangle. "My gate remote. Possession of stolen property." Jake looked at the remote. He looked at me. His face crumbled. "I was keeping it safe," he lied. "I found it on the ground." "Save it for the judge," Davis said. Click. Click. The handcuffs went on. Jake, the tyrant of Oak Creek, the man who measured grass with a ruler, was marched down his own driveway in his bathrobe and slippers, his hands cuffed behind his back. The neighbors were watching. Mike was on his porch, drinking coffee, smiling. Mrs. Higgins was peeking through her blinds. They put him in the back of the cruiser. He was screaming now. "I have authority. This is a mistake. I am the president." Miller walked over to me. "We need the tow company's name." "Was it on the truck?" "No markings," I said. "But I have the license plate from the video." "We'll find them," Miller promised. "And we'll get your truck back." They drove away. I spent the next hour on the phone with my insurance company and the police. At 11 a.m., Miller called me. "We found it," he said. "It's at a yard in the industrial district. Budget towing. The owner is cooperative." He's scared. "Is the truck okay?" I asked. Well, it's there," Miller hesitated. "But you were right about the transmission. The driver dragged it 10 miles in park. The tires are shredded. The differential is locked up. It won't roll." My heart sank. A brand new, $60,000 truck. Ruined. What about the driver? "We picked him up too," Miller said. He rolled on Jake immediately. Said Jake paid him cash under the table, $500, to do the tow off the books because no reputable company would touch a driveway job without a ticket. "So it was a conspiracy," I said. "Yep. And since the damage is over $1,000, it's a felony criminal mischief charge on top of the theft. Jake is looking at real time." "Good," I said. The fallout was spectacular. I sued Jake. I sued the HOA. I sued the tow company. The HOA board held an emergency meeting on Tuesday night. They were panicked. Their insurance policy, directors and officers' liability, has a specific exclusion for criminal acts. Since Jake had committed a felony, the insurance wouldn't cover his defense. The HOA funds were exposed. They voted unanimously to remove him as president. They expelled him from the board. They even sent me a letter apologizing and offering to pay my deductible. But I didn't stop there. During the discovery phase of my lawsuit against Jake, who was out on bail, wearing an ankle monitor, my lawyer subpoenaed his emails. We found a folder labeled enforcement. It wasn't just me. He had authorized 2 other mystery tows in the last year. A Honda Civic belonging to a teenager he didn't like. A boat trailer belonging to a guy who refused to trim his hedges. Both owners thought their vehicles had been stolen by strangers. They had filed insurance claims. Their premiums had gone up. Jake had been running a one-man impound ring to punish his enemies. We contacted those owners. They joined the suit. It became a class action of hate. The tow company lost its license. The state revoked it after the police report detailed the illegal off-the-books tow. The owner is facing fines that will likely bankrupt him. And Jake? He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle to avoid the grand theft conviction, but he still got 2 years of probation, 500 hours of community service, and was ordered to pay full restitution. Full restitution meant paying for my truck. The dealership declared it a total loss because the frame was tweaked from the drag. He owed me $65,000. Plus legal fees. He had to sell his house. He moved out last month. I watched him load the U-Haul. He didn't look like a king anymore. He looked like a man who had been crushed by the weight of his own pettiness. I bought a new truck. Same model. Same color. I park it in the driveway. Right in the middle. Sometimes, when I walk past the empty house across the street, I see the "for sale" sign. And I smile. Because property values are important. But freedom? Freedom is priceless. So, tell me. Am I the monster for sending the HOA president to jail and forcing him to sell his home, or did he just tow himself into a corner he couldn't back out of?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.